Hi guys, it's Brian from Anarchy Models here. Today we're back with more high-speed stencils, and this one is the vehicle detailing number 1. As we can see, this one's mainly about adding some small words to the sides of your vehicles or terrain even, and there's some other bits here to add hatches and cupboards and things to flat areas where there isn't anything. As we can see, the sheet's all in one piece at the moment, but it'd be quite difficult to have this huge sheet and put that around areas on a model. So what we've done, we've designed it so you break it up into smaller pieces, which is then a lot easier to use just the individual piece you want and do it that way. So to start with, we need to cut the tags to break the stencil up into pieces. You could leave it as one piece, but it's a lot easier just to break it up. So you just get a knife and just cut the little joins on the stencil. So you have individual pieces. Now what we've done is we've designed these so that you can clip them all back together onto this piece here. So you could even cut up individual stencils as well, but the idea is you get a hole punch. If you broke them up into smaller pieces, you hole punch each one, but if you just left it as one piece, take a hole punch, and then you can use something like this, which is called a binder ring, and you could just hook them all together to keep them safe or to keep them together, or you could use something like these and do the same job. So open these up. So something like that. And that then keeps them all together. Again, if you wanted to break them up into individual pieces, you could just cut them. It might be easier for you to get that into a piece on the model. Again, just take a hole punch to whichever pieces you've broken up, and you can just cut them back onto the header piece. So break the stencil up into pieces for the ones you want. If you don't need to use this half, then just leave it on the sheet till you need it. So I'm going to go ahead and take a few more off so we're ready to paint the model I want to paint. So once we have our intended stencil ready, we have our subject, we need to mask it off. So obviously each project is going to be different. This is just how this individual item needs to be masked, and this is one of our Anarchy turrets that we make. So to start with, I'm going to put a line of tape across the back of the turret to help me with a guide to know how to line it up. So I've got the straight tape there. Make sure it's as straight as possible with the detail. Another thing we need to do is we need to mark the middle. So I'm going to use fine line Sharpie and just mark the midpoint on the tape. The other thing we need to do, we'll need to mask off the top of the turret. Now ideally you would do the lettering before you did the weathering. As you can see here, I've done some chipping and fades and things. It's best to do the lettering before you do that so that the lettering gets weathered as well. So there we go, ready to paint. Now with this stencil, it's just the right size. I'm not going to need to mask off the top here. So you line up the word where you want it and use the black line, which you can see through the stencil. Use the black line to make sure you've got the word in the middle. Now you can use the line that's engraved on the stencil there to line up with the tape to make sure you've got it nice and straight. So we line it up with the tape that way, and we line it up with the black line for that way. So let's line that up right now. So now you use airbrush in your chosen colour. I've gone for some white. Remove the stencil. And there we have medkit on the cupboard at the back of the turret there. Remove our masking. And there we go. Adds a bit more detail, a bit more life to the model. And you know, you can use the same idea on other parts of the model. So I've got this tank here. I'm going to mark it so that this thing here is going to be the tool cupboard. So the same idea, you'll need to mask off the other areas. Like so. Again, it would have been better to do the lettering before you've done the weathering. So I have my toolkit stencil there. Should line that up where you want it to go. And again, you can use the line on the stencil to line it up. I'm going to line up with this piece of the model here to save me having to do another piece of tape. Again, you can look through the stencil to help make sure you've got it where you want it to be. And we have our toolkit sign. Again, you can do a bit of weathering afterwards now. Really cool. So that's that. And also we have areas on the stencil that you can add detail to flat areas of models or terrain. So we'll do that next. So we have our stencils here. We have a couple of different sorts of cupboards. A grit and a vent here, and these are hatches or like a little armoured porthole or something. I'm just going to use these smaller ones for now. So you'll choose where you want them to go, and again we'll need to mask off the other areas. So I'm going to line up this cupboard so it's straight with the rest of the detail on this panel. If you tape it to the item, it then can't move, making it a lot easier to do the painting. Then we'll make sure it doesn't move and it's as flat as possible. So I'll have some black in here this time, and just lightly airbrush over the stencil. Should be plenty. So now we just need to remove the tape, and there we have some extra detail added to the area. Now you can see here there are some little notches in the actual panel line. Now the reason for that is if you don't have those, this whole square piece just falls out of the stencil and you just have a big hole, a bit like that here. So you could use a paintbrush to fix those. But I find the easiest thing is use one of these. It's a permanent ultrafine Sharpie, and you can just draw in the extra detail to complete the line, like so. And we can do that for all the other pieces. There we go. And obviously you can use these in combination. So we've got a cupboard here. We can decide what we want to be in that cupboard. Let's see what we've got here. I think we'll have reserve fuel in there. So again, we need to tape the stencil down. So I'm going to line the stencil up with the rest of the detail. Apologies for the focus today, I'm not sure why it's going out of focus so much. So again, make sure the stencil's nice and flat and lightly airbrush. The stencil. So there we have some reserve fuel next to our hatch. And we could also add one of the other detailing pieces in this corner, maybe up here. That looks quite good there. So we have a little hatch. We can just about make out there's some little rivets around the porthole there, and again we can use our pen to draw in the panel line like that. So I've gone ahead off camera and done a few more to show you, just as examples, so you can use details on the model and just label it. So we have air intake next to this air intake, or on here we have this little piece of detail here. I figure it's at the front where this laser targeting what it is or whatever it wants to be. So I've labelled this comm unit. So you have a separate arrow on the sheet as well, just line up pointing to detail that already exists, or as shown on here, you can create your own detail and label that. So it's up to you. Vehicles or terrain, wherever you want to use it, you can add some useful words to your projects. Thanks for watching. Cheers then. Bye.